Yo, 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 what's up, party people? Welcome to another episode of Thrive and Dive, thriving in life as we dive into deeper conversations. And I'm joined here today by I don't know if one and only, but the one and only I know, Josh Medina. There you go. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, it didn't work the first time. Josh, I'm so glad you're here on Thrive and Dive. How does it feel to be on Thrive and Dive?
Feels amazing, gonna be famous one day.
Yes.
This podcast, we're gonna blow up.
Yeah. If we blow up, Josh Medina is the reason why. Yeah, exactly. All 30 views we get, and that's being generous. Usually it's more like 20. But like I said, if we do blow up all of a sudden because of this episode, we'll have to give credit where credit is due. Amen. Josh Medina. Well, hey,
you're gonna say God.
God, yeah. Well, God through Josh Medina. How about that? Yes, all glory to God. But since you've been on the channel, if it were to blow up, then maybe it was Josh Medina. Oh, yes, ultimately God. So, yeah. So Thrive and Dive is a little bit of context. I love giving a little context of how I know the people that come on the show. So Josh Medina, and fill in any of the gaps that I might miss, okay. Josh. So he attended the high school I taught at. I never had the pleasure of teaching you. I know, I just missed you. But I do remember you being on campus my first year teaching, because I believe you left the school after freshman year, or you were there sophomore year too?
No, I was here sophomore year, but I left after sophomore year.
Okay, that's what it was. My first year of teaching was your sophomore year. Yeah. That's what it was, yeah. And so I remember seeing him in the hallways. You seem like a well-liked individual on the popular side of the Masters Academy. It's a small school, but there's still some people that you can get pretty famous.
All
it seems
30
like
people.
Yeah, all 30 people in the high school at that time. It's grown since, but definitely has its low numbers. But seeing Josh hang out with people like, shout out to Max Malesic, shout out to Logan Gibson. Who else were in your crew back in those Masters days? Who do you? Micah Foster?
Yeah. No,
Foster?
not
Suter. Micah Suter, yes. Shout out to Micah Suter.
Yeah, and Insaf hung out with us a lot too.
Yes, Insaf Monreal. Yes, okay.
Those boys.
Yeah, there you go. So that's how I know Josh. I didn't know him when he was younger as well. I didn't know of him, but I knew of his family for a good while. And you have 3 brothers, right? Yep. And where
Too many.
Yeah, that's a lot. 4 boys. How did your mom manage all that?
No idea. She did it somehow.
That's awesome. And where do you fall? Are you the second oldest?
I'm the second oldest, yeah.
Dang. So you and me share that in common. I am in a family of 4 as well, but we have one sister in the 4. But I am the second oldest. And how much younger are you to your oldest brother?
2 years.
2 years.
Just under 2 years.
Okay, so similar to me as well, Joel. Shout out to Joel, my older brother. So yeah, so I knew Josh from then. I remember specifically Josh, again, giving context to our Thrive and Divers. We at Masters Academy, the high school I taught at, and the one that Josh attended and I attended back in the day, we do these things called high school retreats is the fancy word for it. It's a time where the high schoolers come together for a trip and for class bonding, for service, for hanging out, competitions, all the above. And we were at this place called, back in the day, Epic Missions.
Yep.
Do you remember that high school retreat?
Can I interject real quick?
Absolutely,
right
yeah.
So our class was super kind of segregated before then.
Yeah.
Especially I feel like 9th grade year kind of did that. And then 10th grade, when you did that call to go pray with your classes, and we were all like, oh, I guess maybe we should.
Okay, yeah.
And we went and we did that, and everyone started crying, and we were all after that, everyone was super tight and
Really?
Yeah, we did everything together. We made a group chat. We were always hanging out. So I credit you to that.
Wow, we credit God, like we said earlier. all glory to God. Honestly, yeah, that was a spur of the moment thing. But I was hopefully operating in the Spirit, and that's cool to hear that
it worked.
That it worked. Wow, God to know one thing has worked in my time at Masters Academy. We'll take that.
You gotta test it.
Yeah. And then also, I remember, man, when you're in a bunk full of boys at a high school retreat, it can get pretty wild. And you guys were just going crazy. And there was a whole yo mama joke battle I felt like going on that night until 3 a.m. I learned some pretty new yo mama jokes to add to my reservoir, my collection of jokes. But man, those were good times, Josh. And so now you're how many years removed from high school?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like that long.
Wow.
It's crazy when you're like, oh, wait, I'm an adult now.
Yeah.
I have to pay bills. It's horrible. But
yeah. Adulting is definitely quite the experience, and but definitely great. You definitely don't want to stay in high school forever.
No.
but yeah, wow. So there's some context, and then also I never really coached the boys soccer team at Masters, but I went to a lot of their games. I did a little bit of conditioning here and there. And Josh, you played on the boys soccer team too, right?
It was so much fun.
Yeah, right on. They had a good team, especially your senior year. That team was pretty lethal. I'd say
The GOAT team, the OGs.
Yeah, I'd say that was one of the best teams Masters Academy has produced. It's a small school, but it's one of the best teams. No, I'm just comparing to like, because we say the best team ever on Masters Academy. It's like, whoa, dang. But it was a good team. I mean, you had you, Max, Jason, Joseph, Josh Harlan, you. It was a pretty good team to watch play. I don't know if they would have beaten the team of 2015.
Really?
Yeah, that was my brother's senior year. That was also a pretty good team. It would be cool to see the team of 2015 take on the team of, what year did you graduate?
2022.
2022. Get a little alumni game going. Obviously, some of the people.
I'm out of condition
out of condition
now.
a
I
lot.
can barely run.
Yeah, so maybe it wouldn't be the best performance per se. But yeah, no, it was fun to watch you play soccer those years as well. So yeah, and any gaps you want to fill in, Josh, on that for the context for the Thriving Divers, whether it's how you know me or just something that you think is essential for the Thriving Divers to know. Like if you want a complete picture of Josh Medina, you need to know this about me. Yeah.
I mean, at least for how I know you, something that sticks out is when I did worship here and your leadership elective. And I wasn't there for the lectures much.
Oh, yeah. So technically I did teach you a little bit. Okay.
I was there here and there, but sometimes I was just like, yeah, I'm too busy or something like that.
Yeah.
I wish I would have went more.
Yeah.
But I remember you definitely having that influence on me and especially when you would do chapel and all that and just kind of like praying with the worship team and I don't know, just kind of give me a good example of ministry, I think. And then as for myself, I don't know. I think music definitely makes me, it's like a core part of me at this point. I've been playing guitar since I was like 9, so kind of just grew up in music, around music. My family's musical, so I think a lot of the way that I express myself is from what I've kind of gotten from those areas.
Nice.
So
that's awesome. And we're going to press into that a little more, that music piece. But no, that's good to know. Josh is a vocalist and a guitar player. Do you do anything else?
Piano and drums.
Piano and drums. Wow, he does it all. A one-man band. That's cool. Yeah. No, that's funny they mentioned that senior year. Yeah. Though you weren't at Masters Academy, you were a big part to the worship team and the spiritual culture in our chapel services. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
And I'm glad you gleaned a little bit from that leadership class. Cool. So I did teach you. I forgot about that part. Yeah, good. Awesome. Well, Thriving Divers. So this is Josh Medina. And what we're doing today is I wanted him to come on and share a bit about his testimony. So I've done this before on Thrive and Dive, but for those of you who are new maybe to faith and Christianity, testimony is a fancy term where we talk about our story. We talk about how we grew, but specifically with the sight of our faith, right? That's kind of the biggest part of a testimony is how did we grow in our walk with the Lord? So if you don't have a relationship with the Lord, it might be kind of a foreign term. You might know a testimony as something that someone gives on trial or in a courtroom, a story of what they saw, what they witnessed, right? So we put a little twist on it. We emphasize the spiritual part of the testimony. And testimonies are powerful tools. So I hope you're encouraged and blessed by Josh's story. Obviously, a full testimony could take hours and days to share all the details. So I'm going to let
condense.
Exactly. He's going to give the abridged version. And depending on the setting, kind of depends on what parts you share of the testimony. But I've been able to interact with Josh since graduating high school a number of times. He's been over at the house. We've hung out, done different things here and there. And in the midst of all that, Josh, there's just been some conversations we've had as we've hang out. You've been at the house a couple times, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Here's a guy that I think has a good head on his shoulders. Obviously, I don't see your life day to day, but I trust that you are making great decisions as a young man.
Trying to, at least now.
Yeah, at least now. There you go. And it's a journey, right? No one's perfect. But from those interactions I've heard, I'm like, oh, this guy has a good head on his shoulders, and he has a goal in mind, which he'll let him share that part. And I think, oh, it'll be great for you guys to hear the story because like I said, testimonies are powerful tools. Stories are powerful. And you have a story as well. Everybody has a testimony, right? And everyone's could look very different. But regardless, somebody can empathize, sympathize, or be encouraged or inspired by your story. So that's the hope today. We're not necessarily going to dive into a specific topic on Thrive and Dive today. We're going to more hear Josh's story. And if any topics come from the story that we press into, great. Let's go. See where the Lord leads in that. Does that sound good, Josh?
Sounds perfect.
Cool. So, Josh, I'll let you decide where you want to start in your story, whether it's from day one, the day you were born, or infancy, or you want to start junior or sophomore year of high school, or like a year ago. Regardless, where you start, what I would love for you to eventually get to through that testimony is now, where do you think the Lord is taking you? What is your plan? What are you doing now with school, education, and career options? But I would love for you to start before that, wherever you want.
Yeah.
As you share.
Okay. I think it's important to understand that I grew up in the church. My dad was in ministry, and so that was always kind of like a big part of my life. And although I didn't like utilize it as much as I should have until, I was like 16, I think it definitely gave me a foundation of where to go off of. And I mean, like, my dad would pray with me and my brothers like every night before we went to bed. And so, like, obviously I didn't understand the importance of that then, but like looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that is such a crucial thing. I mean, especially when you have a family to like pray with them, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's like looking back, my parents had a huge influence on my faith walk, but I'd say like up until 7th grade, it was kind of like a blur. Like it's all just, sunshine and rainbows. You hang out with your friends. You don't really do much. Don't really think about much. But I think the key parts of my character started being developed during, middle school into high school. Because, I mean, your mind is changing. You're, like, intaking different experiences and understanding things differently.
Yep.
And I think I'm a 2 on the Enneagram.
2 on the Enneagram?
Yeah, so.
Ooh, pulling out the Enneagram. I like it. Whoa, okay.
Well,
I'm a 3. I don't know I don't know what a 2 is, but I know mine.
The helper.
The helper, okay. Yeah.
Like doing things for other people.
Okay.
And so I think definitely in middle school, I had a need to be liked by people. Kind of speaking to what like you had said before. And I was like, we can go into that. That's much deeper.
Yeah.
I kind of just needed people to like me because I kind of felt like that's where I gained my like worth from. Like, okay, if this many people liked me, like I was doing something right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so definitely, I remember in 7th grade, I was like, okay, like not consciously thinking it, but looking back, I'm like, I need to be liked by everybody. Like everyone that I know, even people that don't even know me, like when they hear things about me, they gotta like me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My reputation's gotta be golden.
I'm like, I just want people to like love me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so kind of taking that and then, switching schools from Glendale to Masters in 8th grade, you're the new kid and you're like, okay, I got to fit in now. I got to find my crowd. And I was not hanging with the right crowd.
Okay. So your first time going to Masters was in 8th grade, or did you go in elementary?
My mom taught.
Right.
Up until I was in like 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And then I became homeschooled for a little bit.
Okay.
Homeschoolers aren't that weird guys.
Yeah.
I like to think that I'm pretty normal.
There you go. I was homeschooled until high school. So yeah.
We're pretty cool people.
Yeah, the homeschool high five now. Yeah, depends. I'm just playing.
Yeah, so I was homeschooled from 3rd grade to 7th grade. And I don't remember why, but I remember just losing it. I mean, when I left Masters, I was like, no, I don't want to be homeschooled. And then when she's like, you're going back to school, I'm like, no, I don't want to go back to school. And so I remember just like definitely fighting that. And then switching again from Glendale to Masters, I was like, why? I was like,
so how long were you at Glendale?
Just 1 year.
Just 1 year. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so I just made all these deep friendships, and then I was like, well,
see you.
Say bye.
Oh gosh, yeah, that could be tough.
Yeah, and then you're the new kids. So you're like, okay, I got to fit in. I got to see who I like. I got to see who are the cool kids. Who's not got their stuff together, but enough for an 8th grader where you're like, I like these people.
Right. Yeah, and I heard your, not to judge your class, but I heard your 8th grade class was pretty wild.
No, you don't have, you can judge. It was horrible.
I've heard stories from different people.
It was not good. It was just chaos a lot of the times, and I didn't participate because my mom worked there and I know it'd be dead. But I was definitely with that group, and my mom was like, "You're not hanging around those kids." I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, as a 14-year-old does, I'm gonna do my own thing. I know I've lived enough. I know the world.
Right.
You don't. And just like not to expose him, but Max was in that group.
Yeah.
So
Max.
that was where kind of, well, our friendship started in 3rd grade. I remember when he came to school, I like took a liking to him for some reason.
Hey,
I have no idea why.
Interesting.
And then in 8th grade, I was like, oh, maybe I'll hang out with Max. So I hung out with that group a lot. But since they were like so tight, like, you know, I wasn't invited to everything, obviously. And I knew like having to be liked and then that happening, it's like stake to the heart. You're like, oh,
eating you up.
yeah. And so I probably only had like three deep friendships then. Which I mean, I didn't mind. But like taking that into 9th grade was just it was rough.
Really?
Just because I mean, ever since I'd say a kid, I was made fun of a lot. And I think that's kind of where the need to be liked comes from.
Sure.
Of like combating that.
Yeah.
And so in order to compensate of, I don't want to be made fun of, I'm like, I got to be liked by everyone. And so 9th grade, I felt like I was made fun of a lot.
Really?
And like trying to just fit in and like, okay, well, I got to hang out with these kids. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to be liked. I got to fit in. I just deeply insecure, like low self-worth. And like 9th grade was horrible for me. I was like, I don't want to be here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that I was like suicidal or anything, but I was like, you know, I could go without this. You know what I mean? Like if I wasn't here, like whatever.
Right.
Like, it's fine.
Wow. Yeah.
And so, not many people know that, but we're getting vulnerable today.
Yeah. As vulnerable as you want to be.
Yeah.
Love it, man. Yeah.
Tim Ross. Are you familiar with Tim Ross?
Tim Ross. Yeah. He's the one at Transformation.
Oh, not anymore.
He's not. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I don't agree with everything he says. He's kind of.
I know he's polarizing.
Yeah,
and he says
some questionable things, and you're like, oh, all right, you didn't have to say that.
Yeah, the way was he the one that's talking about like the stripper on the cross?
Yeah, that was
okay.
him. And then when you bring up Tim Ross, people are like, oh, you listen to Tim Ross? Like,
or the cussing pastor or whatever.
Yeah, he cusses now. I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
did
but
not
anyway.
do that before. But he always says this thing of vulnerability is my superpower. And
okay.
So
Yeah.
definitely I took a lot of that from him. It was like,
okay,
I don't care. Like here's my whole life. Like,
cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think 9th grade was definitely a very big year for me, just because going through that, you're kind of trying to figure out who you are, especially at the beginning of high school. You have no idea who you are.
Yeah, sure.
And you're trying to figure that out through the lens of like other people a lot of the time. And so you like take on these friendships and you're like taking parts of each one of them and going, okay, this is me, that's me. And when it's not. Yeah. Because I mean, your identity is in Christ. And obviously I didn't understand that.
True. It's becomes a big cliche in Christian circles, your identity is in Christ. But it's like, what does that mean type thing? Yeah.
And so just trying to figure that out through the year and like trying to figure out who I am. Yeah. And honestly just trying to make it through. I remember I slept a lot because I was like, like I would come home and I'm like, I'm just going to sleep. Like I don't want to deal with this. Wow. Because I think I took like a 2-hour nap. 3-hour nap every day after school. Interesting. I think it was definitely a coping mechanism to like, for sure, avoid my problems. Right. Absolutely. I know when I get stressed, I get sleepy, which is so weird. But yeah. So that was that. And then I don't even remember that summer. I remember hanging out with Cody a lot. I hung out with Cody so much. Cody Flint? Shout out to Cody Flint. Quality guy. Yeah, he's been one of my best buddies since like kindergarten. Oh, that's awesome. He's my first friend at Masters. Cool. And so hung out with him a ton. Yeah. Until like 10th grade and 11th grade. And then we started kind of like developing our own lives. Not that like there's anything there. I mean, we still hang out, just like not as much just because we're both so busy and stuff like that. Yep. But shout out Cody. He's a G if he watches this. Yeah, if you're watching Cody, shout out to Cody. And then 10th grade, you kind of like pushed everyone together. And that was amazing, especially for me, because I was like, okay, like now I have a circle of people who like, I'd say, not that the bad kids were gone, but these were more strong in their faith, you know,
Yeah.
and kind of helped me start to navigate mine. I think I went to Oceans for the first time.
Oceans is a church here in Vero. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
In 10th grade. First time I was there, Pastor Mike like prophesied over me.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Like I had no idea who he was, and he's just saying this stuff about me, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't know
And it was pretty spot on.
Yeah, it was pretty spot on.
That's awesome.
I think that definitely helped me gain my charismatic side.
Okay.
I was like,
shout out to Pastor Mike, a pastor at Oceans.
Yeah. But just kind of developing that friendship, and then after, I'd say like the first half of the year I was cruising, I still had that kind of need to be liked. I was still pretty insecure, still like a low self-esteem, you know, because you don't really just get rid of that in an instant.
No, for sure.
And then beginning of 2020, I really liked this girl, and then she really liked me, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was like, someone likes me. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
It's kind of like trying to push away that insecurity and self-worth. And you're like, okay, I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And then when that didn't work, all the same insecurities, low self-worth, that just came right back.
Dang. Wow.
Like immediately. And I mean, after like the breakup, like for 2 weeks, like I tried to like just completely ignore, like, I'm fine. I don't need.
Yeah. For sure.
You try to like overcompensate the insecurity with like pride of like, I'm all that, you know what I mean? Like, I'm good. Like I don't need any of this.
Right.
You can only push it off for so long before after that you're like, oh, okay. I'm just like in this really deep hole, and all that same stuff from 9th grade came back. But I mean, this time I had like a support, a group, you know what I mean? My friends. And so I kind of had that closeness with them to kind of like pull me out of it.
Yeah.
But after that came back, I'd say that's when my faith like really started to kick up, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's going on. I don't get this, God. Like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And kind of just pressing into that. And there was this album that I had found. I don't know if his name is David Bullock or David Beloche.
I don't recognize it now. Okay.
I never know how to pronounce his name, but he had this album, and basically like the whole thing is just psalms.
Okay.
And like musical like form.
Yeah.
And so like listening to that, and I'm like, okay, I need to get into scripture. Like, you know, if he's my shepherd and he come to me all who are weak, and you know, I will give you rest and all that. And like, be like, okay, maybe if I like press into God, you know, I can get some answers. And, I didn't get any answers, but I kept pushing for an answer, and I'd say that's really when my faith started to kick up, because I'm like, okay, I want to pursue Jesus. Like, if he's all what people say about him, you know, even though I had that whole lifespan of being in the church and living in that, I never really experienced who Jesus was.
Yeah,
like, I knew of Jesus, but I didn't know Jesus. I'd say there's a big difference there.
Huge difference.
And I was like, I want to know Jesus. I want to know who this guy is. Or I want to know God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, just that whole summer, I was just like trying to push into it, and all that insecurity and stuff, it doesn't just like go away. You know what I mean? Sometimes God wants you to like work through this.
Yeah.
And so, it took a lot of work, and I'd say a lot of the beginning half of my junior year was just working through that and being like, okay, where's my identity put? Yeah. Where's my validation come from? And like putting that into God, you know what I mean? And trying to just be with Jesus and be like Jesus, and being like, okay. And I'd say I was still very angry during that time of like everything that had happened. And in my junior year, my mom had gotten really sick. She had gotten like cancer not long, and then after that she got a surgery, and there were complications, and like it was bad. And I was the only one of my brothers that knew what was going on.
Wow.
And I just remember being so angry at God through all of this, because I mean, you're dealing with the insecurity, you're dealing with the validation. I'm dealing with that breakup of like, I thought that, you know, this was gonna be it, you know.
Yeah.
And so just being angry at God of what is going on, Like I'm trying to do everything right, and just things seem to not be getting better. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
And I remember reflecting on the story of Job and like kind of understanding like God doesn't push away our doubts and push away our anger, but he reveals himself more in that. And so instead of going, oh, here's the problem of evil in a 30-minute sermon, here's all your answers.
Yeah.
You know, he kind of just goes, here I am.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to understand this if I try to lay it out to you. Because, you know, when he talks to Job and he's like, were you there when I laid the foundations of the earth? And obviously, no. You know what I mean? Like, no. I mean, I asked questions that I didn't even deserve the answers to. Yeah. You know? And so I remember just God revealing himself to me a lot in that way of like, I'm God and you're not. So just trust me.
That's good. That's a good point, Josh, because nowhere in the Bible, well, I don't want to make an absolute statement here, but from what I can think of, if you can think of something that contradicts this, by all means, share it. But God doesn't necessarily promise that he's going to give us complete understanding of his plans, right?
I don't think we could understand it.
No, exactly. Because his ways are higher than our ways. Our thoughts are higher than our thoughts. If he tried to give us the full understanding, probably our heads would blow up, right? Because we just can't process through divine plans, right? I can barely process through my own plans sometimes, right?
Barely do math.
Exactly. So it's to think that, man, God isn't good because I don't understand what he's trying to do. All these things are falling out of place, and I don't want to be insensitive to people's problems by any means.
It's
but
valid, you know?
For sure, 100%. What you walk through with your mom and your insecurities, those are real things. I know I don't want to brush those off. Like, just get it together, Josh. I don't want to do that. But at the same time, as you mentioned, we need to have that Job moment where like, where were you when I laid down the foundations of the earth? Yeah. God speaking to Job. It's like, where were you, James, when I laid down the foundations of the earth? I know what I'm doing, right? Yeah. You can trust me. Trusting me doesn't mean I'm going to show you everything I'm doing, right? You got to trust me. You know, that statement, we live by faith and not by sight. If we had to understand everything, we're no longer living by faith. We're wanting to live by sight. So it's like, I'll walk by faith, but not by sight, as long as I can understand everything. Well, you're missing the point. Yeah. Walking by faith is you won't understand everything. Yeah. So that's a good word, Josh, that you mentioned from your testimony. Yeah. Keep going. I interrupted you there.
Oh, no, you're good. That was a good segue. Yeah. If you ever want, like, me to elaborate, or if we want to talk about something that I bring up.
I've been keeping a mental note. We're going to circle back on a couple things. Yeah, but keep going.
And then I remember, don't get me wrong. Sophomore year and junior year, a blast. Like, though I was dealing with all that, I am so grateful for like the friends that God put in my life and the people in my family. And they pushed me out of my comfort zone to be like, okay, all this bad stuff is happening, but go enjoy stuff still. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you should have the opportunity to.
For sure.
It's your choice whether to indulge in it or not. And so grateful for God putting those people in my life.
That's good.
After, I'd say, what was it? The second half of junior year. Yeah. Still, the validation thing is still there, and I'm still trying to get back with this girl. There's like a whole year and a half escapade of my friends telling me, what are you doing? And I'm like, I know what I'm doing.
They're trying to shoot you straight. Yeah, like, I'm not going to listen to the counsel of my friends.
Yeah. Yeah. God definitely gives you friends to put a head on your shoulder.
Oh, you know 100%. I mean? Yeah.
And so I'd say I wasn't still putting my validation 100% in God, and like still trying to be liked by people, and obviously way less than it was before, because I was like growing in my maturity, growing in my faith, and like growing with Jesus, and being like, okay, these are the things that I'm supposed to do. These are the things that, you know, I'm supposed to be going towards. And just dealing with all that stuff, and like just praying a lot, reading my Bible a lot, but just trying to find those answers of like, how am I supposed to live this out every day? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, all through junior year, just working on my faith. I'm trying to think if there's anything massive that happened junior year besides that. I don't think so. I started leading worship in junior year.
Cool. So, at your church? Or
no, not at my church. In our U group
nice.
At Oceans, we're doing U group, and
U group's like a small group style of youth group, right?
You're like my dictionary. Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
I know these church terms.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but yeah, for those who don't, but keep going.
And I had no idea what I was doing. You give a kid a guitar and you could go lead worship, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll sing songs.
Right.
I had no idea what I was doing. I was just trying to figure it out. And looking back, I did a horrible job, but you can only do so well when you're 16 and have no, mentorship of.
Oh yeah, that's kind of tough. Shame on those who do mentor. No, I'm just playing. Pastor Mike
like,
and Oceans.
Go lead worship. Good job. Like,
was that Insop that told you that?
Yeah, Insop was the one who was like, "You want to lead worship?" And I was like, "Sure."
Okay,
and I guess like I never thought about it. I was like, I'm supposed to be a worship leader.
Yeah.
The only one time that I didn't even lead worship. I played guitar. I was like in 7th grade for my other youth group. It was Caleb, my older brother, has a video. It's so bad. I'm like so nervous and like I'm like messing up and like it's embarrassing. I hate that video. He tries to show it to me and I'm like, please don't show me that.
Yeah.
But like this is being pushed, and that definitely pushed my comfort zone. But I think it was a good experience for me to have because it kind of shaped. I started developing the cores of like, okay, how am I supposed to do this? And by the end of that, I was coming into worship leadership and understanding, okay, maybe I should sing songs that everybody knows so that they can be in it. And like, cultivating that atmosphere of,
there you go.
This is a like dialogical experience with God. Like this is communication. It's not just I'm singing a song and, I'm going to put my hands in my pockets. I'm not going to think about it. Like, no, this is an experience you're supposed to have with God of here's my worship. Because God responds to a response. So when we respond to his love in worship, God's going to respond.
Ooh, he responds to our response. I like that.
That one's from Pastor Mike.
Okay.
I didn't get that until like a year ago. I was like, what do you mean responds to a response? It doesn't make any sense.
It's like turning right to go left.
Yeah.
Like
I was like, what?
You're like, oh.
Yeah, I was reading it. It was like we love because he loved first. And I was like, oh, that's the response. I was like, that's it. He loves us. I was like, oh, it's so simple. And I didn't get it. And I had spoken on that a little bit ago when I led worship at my church. I was like, just trying to cultivate that atmosphere of, this is a response to God. You know what I mean? So let us offer something that we think is, worthy, because you're not going to, if you have like some high boss and you think really highly of him, you're not going to go and give him a water bottle and a peppermint York patty as like your gift. And you're like, here you go. I appreciate you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so this is like the creator of the universe and just being like, how am I going to offer what I have to bring? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just outpouring everything. Like I'm coming empty, God, just so that I can be filled. I'm going to give you everything that I have so that you can give me something of worth. Because, these fleshly things aren't of worth compared to, what God has. And so I enjoyed leading worship then. Faith, my now girlfriend, she led worship with me, and now she's again leading worship with me.
Awesome.
At my church.
Sweet.
Shout out Pillar Community Church.
Yeah. If you're in Vero Beach and you're looking for a church, Pillar Community
We
Church.
just got a new building, so it looks very
sick.
Nice.
Yeah. That's been a long time coming too. That's like
definitely was like
Lord
10,
really been
11 years in the making.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm thankful that I get to lead worship now, but I think having that experience definitely shaped my understanding of worship and how I lead now. I'd say that was a pretty crucial part of my junior year, and just walking in my faith. I'm trying to remember if I went to youth camp that year. I think I didn't, or it might have been senior. I don't think I did, but
blend in.
Yeah, I'm mixing stuff up.
Yeah,
we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
I didn't at that time. I didn't feel calling to lead worship or be in worship ministry. It was just something that I did.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I mean, I guess I enjoy this. Maybe I'll just do this on the side or something like that.
Yeah.
Not that it was my calling, but I was like, I just enjoy doing this. I enjoy praising Jesus, And then so after junior year, I think I finally was like really coming out of that need to be liked by people, the insecurity, and like really stepping into myself.
Yep.
And just trying to cultivate this relationship with Jesus. And this summer before senior year, I think July, I started a TikTok page.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna drop the name because I don't want people going to that. It just feels weird.
Don't leave yourself a plug.
People, I remember I didn't tell many people about it. I just told my friends and like people that like acquaintances that I had or people that I knew were like following me, and I was like, oh, oh.
Oh no.
I was like, I'm way too vulnerable on here, please.
Oh, are you?
Go away.
Well, I heard you blew up a little bit on some of your videos. That's what Jason, my little brother, was telling me. Or was that a different TikTok account?
No. It was that one. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like much. It was like 10,000 likes.
Yeah.
There was one that I had that got like, it was like 160,000 views.
Wow.
Which, I mean, isn't much for TikTok. I'm not like some viral star, but
I don't know TikTok very well, so I don't know. It sounds good to me.
160,000. It's a lot easier to blow up on. You just know how to, you gotta know how to run the algorithm.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it was cool having that community because I had these people who I didn't know who were like, you know, struggling with the same things I was. And I was able to minister to some of those people of like, hey, I don't know how to do this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I went through that. Here's what you can do. And just, it was great being able to like help people through that and like, oh my bad.
You
Just
getting bored? No,
yeah.
You're the one talking. No, I'm so tired of hearing myself talk.
I'm not used to it. Just being able to minister to people was just an amazing experience, and I'm very thankful for that. I don't post on it anymore just because I've kind of stepped away from social media.
Okay, gotcha.
Especially now during Lent, I'm just have it all deleted.
Oh, okay, cool, nice.
But just kind of stepping away from TikTok because I feel like God had that for like a season of like this is what I want you to do from now.
Right.
But kind of like now it's not really what I'm supposed to step into. It's
not your high priority. Yeah. Okay.
So I remember doing that, posting on that a lot. I had my friends in the videos a lot. It was just super fun to be able to do that. And it definitely helped my faith because I was able to like talk with a lot of people and find a lot of people whose faiths were more developed than mine. Yeah. And I remember these two guys specifically, David Ladding. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Sounds familiar, but I don't
kind
know.
of the social media kind of.
Okay.
I wouldn't say preachers, but because they're young, they're like, I think they're preaching now.
Okay, gotcha.
Probably a year or two older than me. And Elijah Lamb. And just like seeing their videos just definitely helped me to shape my faith because I'm like, wow, like these people are my age and they're like hearing from God like this.
Right,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I want to hear from God like this. I want to have messages like this. I want to be able to talk with God, so comfortably that I'm like in a grocery store and he's like, go minister to that person. They're dealing with this. You need to go pray for them right now. Yeah. And, acting on that is a whole nother story.
Right. For sure.
But, being able to hear God and like that, I was like, I want my faith to be like that. Yeah. And I definitely had a lot of influences on TikTok of people who just helped to shape my faith. But coming out of that, I started my last year of high school, and Miss Gillette.
Shout out to Miss Gillette. She
asked me to be on the worship team.
Yeah, she's the academic dean. Sorry, give you context to those who don't know. She worked in elementary school, but then she became the academic dean that year.
I don't think I ever had her for a teacher.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah, I left in 3rd grade. She was 4th grade.
You're like, run away from Miss Gillette. And then psych,
came right back. Yeah.
Can't run away from Miss Gillette. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're good. She had asked me to be on the worship team, and I was like, all right. Like, you think I'm all that, I was like, I guess I'll do it.
I think she was desperate. No, we need somebody.
We need a guitarist. Yeah. Well, they did. They didn't have a guitarist.
That is true.
I was like, first shot.
Yeah.
Like, okay, sure. I'll do that. And I think that also helped to shape how I led and how I functioned within worship ministry. Because, it's different when you're leading for like a small group of like 7, 8 people, but then you're going to like 50 kids. Yeah. And you're like, okay, now I really have to lead a group of people. Kids, but it's a lot less daunting than adults, I'd say.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, I thought it'd be the other way around.
No,
okay. I thought your peers would be harder.
I think when you're a senior in high school, you're kind of like, I've made it to the top of the food chain. Like, I can say whatever I want. You guys can't even say anything.
That's a fair point. So the boldness we get our senior year. It's like,
So I was like, I didn't mind leading for that many people. When I did have the opportunity to, besides just playing guitar.
Gotcha.
And Mr. definitely helped me understand how to lead a group of people. Because, obviously you come from, the U group, and I have no idea what I'm doing. But now I'm like, I actually have to lead people in ministry. Like, there's a difference between singing songs and leading people. Yeah. Because leading people is you're guiding them through this experience, especially if they don't know what they're doing or they don't know how to interact in a space like that. And so she definitely helped me a lot to shape how I do that now. And I got to do that for that whole year. They're very thankful for that.
That's awesome.
I'm just glad I had the opportunity to lead again. And then after that, I didn't get to lead for a bit. There wasn't really any opportunities for me. But then, hold on, go back.
Oh, rewind.
Yeah.
Miss detail.
Senior year, I went to this youth camp from Oceans, and they always have this thing like come expecting God to move. You know,
for sure. Yeah.
And so I go, and before that, I talked with my worship leader at my church, who had had become my mentor.
Cool.
And so we were like getting lunch once a week and just talking about my walk and talking about worship leading, and I remember the week before I went, I was like, I feel like I'm kind of being called to worship ministry. I was like, I don't know why. I don't know if this is God or if this is me.
Yeah.
I was like, but I kind of feel that. And he was like, press into that. And he was like, find out. And so the camp was a no technology camp, so I had to get rid of my phone. So it was nice to have no distractions.
Yeah, yeah.
And just kind of praying. And I remember the first night, I didn't, you know how sometimes you expect that like emotional experience of like, oh, I'm crying my eyes out.
Right,
and, like,
right.
feeling the presence of God.
Yeah.
And I remember the first night I just didn't feel that. And I was like talking to God, and I was like, usually I cry at these things. Usually something happens. And he was like, oh, you're going to cry tomorrow night. I was like, what? Like, what does that mean? I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. I definitely did cry tomorrow night. I remember it was just a powerful worship experience, and I was praying the whole time, being like, God, is this what you want? Is this what you want? And I just kept getting answered like, yes, like worship ministry is what you're called to. This is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I had this like vision of like, I didn't understand at the time. And it was like a rose like coming, it was like vivid.
Yeah.
Like I don't see stuff like this. It was like a rose coming out of the ground and then like blooming. And I was like, what does that mean? Kind of no answer. And it took me a while to kind of understand like, okay, you're not on your purpose now, but you're going to kind of be growing into that.
That's good.
As you come along. And I've definitely seen how that's happened because I had talked to Pastor Mike about being on the worship team for Oceans because Friday night they have the big like youth group.
Oh yeah.
With
Surge.
everybody.
Yeah. It called? Yeah.
And then I was like, I want to be on the worship team, and he was like, well, you go to another church, so kind of conflicting.
Right.
And, the whole thing. It's set up there for a reason.
Yeah.
Not Pastor Mike's fault or anything.
Right.
And he was like, just pray about, what you want to do, because if I had led for Oceans, I wouldn't be able to lead for my church. And I just kind of praying about that, and I was like, I think I'm called to stay at my church. I don't know why.
Cool.
And then not long after, just opportunities kept coming up. Hey, you want to lead worship this Sunday? Hey, do you want to do this? You want to do this? And I mean, before then, I'd kind of been on the worship team every week, but I wasn't leading or anything. And just kind of seeing those opportunities come up as I went, and being like, okay, like, you called me here, but it's not like you're just going to lead me. You're going to provide.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so, he doesn't lead you anywhere where he won't be already.
Yeah.
And so, just kind of stepping into that and leading worship, and then talking with my worship leader a lot of like, okay, how do I do this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to learn.
Yeah.
And so kind of coming into that. And I'd say the most odd thing is being in charge of people older than you. It's really, really weird because you're taught like, respect the people older than you. Yep. You have to do what they say. You have to do what they tell you.
Yep.
And now it's like, I'm in charge.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I mean?
And you can't necessarily always respect what they say, especially when it comes to worship ministry out here.
I know. Like,
how is this too loud, too soft? Do more hymns, do less hymns. So you
I got to call the shots.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You got to trust me that the Lord is leading me as the worship, as I lead you.
So when you're like 19, 20, being in charge of these people who are much more seasoned than you, a lot older than you, it's kind of like, it's daunting because you don't want to step on any toes. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Definitely, sometimes you can be walking on eggshells of like
absolutely
what you can say, what you're allowed to do.
It's a weird balance, weird line sometimes. And then throw in maybe your preoccupation, or your desire. I don't know your Enneagram 2 thing you're talking about.
Just kind of like I need other
to be liked.
to
be liked. That's what it was. I don't know if that affects at all.
No, it definitely, because I want other people to be happy a lot. As well, and I think that's definitely a key part of, being into, as some people say the Enneagram is demonic, but that's a whole nother story.
Sure. Absolutely.
Already looked into that.
Yeah.
We're chilling. But just like needing other people to be happy, you know, and not necessarily validated by it, but I'm like, I want to make sure everybody is content, and I'm not, making anybody angry or upset.
Yeah.
And it's a fine line you got to walk, but I think at the end of the day, I was talking with Cody's dad about it actually, and he was like, at the end of the day, he was like, "You're the leader."
Yeah.
He's like, "You got to call the shots." And I'm very open to suggestions, and I'm definitely, because these people have been playing music much longer than me,
Yeah.
and so I'm very open to it. But he's like, at the end of the day, if you want something, you feel like something needs to be a certain way, he's like, you just got to call that. And you're like, I'm thankful for the suggestion, but
yeah,
we're gonna do it this way instead.
That's good.
You know,
love it.
And so just coming into that, and I feel like that gets us to where we are today. Was there anything? I think a key thing was my now girlfriend. She's definitely helped me in my faith and like how to function within a relationship. 'Cause I definitely had some problems from my previous relationships, and you know how I reacted to certain
Sure.
conflict. Not that I would like
You live and you learn.
get angry and yell, but just
Yeah.
Dealing with like anxiety and stuff like
Sure,
that, and
sure.
my reactions to those situations. And she's definitely helped me a lot with that, and just wanting to closely walk with Jesus. So when those things happen, I'm not going to be like, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Like, I just turn to Jesus.
That's good.
And he's like, chill out, man.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have anything to be anxious about. You're freaking out over nothing.
Right.
And she's definitely helped me in that way, and in pushing me to get out of my comfort zone and, lead when I have the opportunity, and, like really lead. Like, this is what we're doing, which has definitely not been me. I've always kind of been like a behind the scenes leader. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'll influence people, but I don't want to be in charge, because that's like too much responsibility for me. But now it's like, God is like, I want you to be a leader. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, I'll do that. But I don't know if
good.
I'll be the best.
Hey, there you go. God doesn't equip the called.
Yeah.
God doesn't call the equipped. He equips the called.
Amen. So just kind of walking into that, and she's definitely helped me a lot. And especially with leading with me, it's been wonderful. And people are always like, it's beautiful that you get to lead with someone that you love. You know what I mean?
Sure. Absolutely.
And so it's just been great. And, in college, just surviving mountains of homework, and just trying to find time for spots with Jesus in the midst of all the chaos.
Absolutely. And you go to UCF?
I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Go Knights.
It's amazing. Charge on.
Charge on.
Yeah. So just walking into my leadership and what God has for me. So
that's good. Oh, awesome, Josh. And that's where I hope you guys have seen the progression, right? This is a journey, the walk with the Lord. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. I think you mentioned it a second ago. So actually, I do want to circle back, Josh, on some of the topics you shared, but we're going to close out this episode of Thrive and Dive because I want to make sure I have enough storage on my phone for this next part. So Thrive and Divers, check out the next little episodes I'm going to put out as we unpack some of the things that he brought up in his testimony. So without further ado, though, thank you, Josh, for this episode.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's give a round of applause for Josh Medina here on Thrive and Dive. Thank you, guys. Oh, thank you. I was
Too many fans.
Too many fans. Yeah. Well, guys, this is Thrive and Dive. Thriving in life as we dive into deeper conversations. Have a great rest of your day.